welcome back to Plantmas Day 5. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a Q&A answering all of your questions. Obligatory mention that there is a giveaway for Plantmas. Go back and watch the little announcement video for more details on that. I'll leave a link to it in the description box and in the card. But enough about that, let's get into the questions. This is cute. What things are making you happy right now? I'm gonna take this literally, as in right now, right this very second, because why not? Things that are making me happy right this very second. The fact that I'm filming videos for Plantmas makes me happy. I've never done any kind of Vlogmas style series on my YouTube channel, and I'm really excited about every single video I'm creating. So I'm excited about this. I'm happy to be sitting here filming. I'm happy that Chewy, my floofy cat, is lying right here on the ground being adorable and is so floofy and cute, and I love him. I'm also happy that Yoda is lying right there where you can't see her out of frame, being adorable and cozy. I'm happy because I can smell this maple syrup candle, and maple syrup is the best scent to have ever existed on Earth, and if you disagree, you're wrong. I don't know what to tell you. I'm also happy because I had an audition today, and I think it went well. I had a great time singing the songs that I picked. I was happy with my performance. That's always fun. I'm also happy because there's beautiful fluffy snow on the ground, and also happy that I don't have to trudge out in it all that often. And I'm happy that my husband was able to come home in the middle of the day today, so we got a little midday cuddle, which are one of the best kinds of cuddles. I mean, every kind of cuddle is pretty good in my opinion, but anyway. I'm gonna move on from this question because I could probably keep listing things forever. I'm feeling very happy today, which is great. So thanks for asking. I really appreciate it. Oh, the next question's in the same vein. How are you now that things have hopefully calmed down a bit? I'm great. Things have not calmed down at all. I'm very busy, but I'm great. I'm doing very well. How do you find inspiration for your monthly theme? It depends. Usually ideas just pop into my head. Presumably they come in from observing the world and seeing things on Instagram and Pinterest, or watching a movie, or listening to a specific song, or seeing a painting. You know, there's so many different sources of inspiration just daily that can influence you and inspire you to come up with a great theme. And if I ever am coming up to a month and I don't have a good idea, I'll go down my list and try to pick a few options. And usually in that case, if I'm not really set on a theme, I will do a little poll on my Patreon and ask my patrons to pick my theme for me, and they always pick amazing themes. So they also suggest themes. So that's another thing. I get suggestions from my patrons, I get suggestions from all of you, from my Instagram followers. So yeah, it just happens from being around, living, you know, experiencing things, all that good stuff. Sorry, I just popped up to turn up the ISO on my camera because the light is disappearing. So yay, losing light. Love that for me. Have you always been confident bujoing in public? I feel awkward in college. I mean, to be fair, I don't bujo in public that much because I am a hermit, but I would say I've never felt awkward bullet journaling in public. So when I used to work in a workplace outside of my house, I would bring my bujo and I would update it throughout the day when I got the chance. And usually when people noticed, they would just ask me what it was, and then they would want to see it and they would think it was cool, and they'd probably end up going and watching my YouTube videos. So it was always kind of a fun conversation starter. There were definitely times where maybe a theme was a bit more personal to me, or certain coworkers where I kind of felt like I would be judged for it, or, you know, I felt like they were judging me for having a super, you know, artsy journal, or for the specific theme it was or something. So there were definitely times that I felt a little bit more reticent to just open it and be really open about it, but that was more about specific people and not wanting them to see that kind of vulnerable side of myself, even though I literally share that vulnerable side of myself with tens of thousands of people on the internet. It's a bit different sometimes. You know what I mean. If you have a coworker or a classmate or something that are just kind of judgmental, and you just don't want them, you don't want to share that special thing with them. So that was the only time I felt a bit uncomfortable, but I would usually just avoid updating it when they were around. But otherwise, I just kind of do it. And people normally don't say anything unless they're curious and think it's cool and want to learn more. which is a fun conversation starter. Maybe it could be a good way for you to make friends in college, because maybe someone else will recognize it and they also have a bullet journal, or they want to learn more, and in telling them about it, you realize you have lots of stuff in common. Favorite season and why? Probably the fall or the summer. I like the feeling of the fall. I love the colors on the trees. I find it very inspiring. I think it's beautiful. I also love being able to get a little cozier and feel less weird about burning candles all day long. I like the warm, rich colors of the fashion that is typically popular in the fall. But I really love the summer because I love hot, sunny weather. It's the best for my mental health generally. And I like that I can go out and do things and not be cold and uncomfortable. So summer or fall. Go-to ways for calming anxiety. That's an interesting one. To be honest, I'm not that great at calming my anxiety. A lot of my anxiety has abated because I work at home now, and that has kind of eliminated a lot of the situational anxiety that I had experienced for a long time. I do still get anxiety around things that people tend to get anxious about. So if I'm very overwhelmed with work, if I have a lot of deadlines, I can get anxious in social situations, for sure. I think the best ways that I found to deal with my anxiety are, number one, to avoid situations that I know trigger the most intense anxiety. So I try to avoid the things that in the past have caused panic attacks, because for me, that's the worst my anxiety gets, is when I have a panic attack. And the few situations that have caused those panic attacks, I do my best to avoid those reoccurring, again, to the best of my ability, because you can't control everything, but I do my best. I also try to be aware of when I am getting anxious, and I try to slow down, take a moment, take some deep breaths, even just starting by doing a basic breathing exercise. So if I find I'm kind of breathing quickly and feeling short of breath, or feel like I'm not able to take a deep breath, which is usually sort of a precursor to a panic attack, I will usually sit down, try to find a quiet place if I can, close my eyes, and I will do a breathing exercise. So usually I'll start wherever I'm at. So if I'm breathing in and out like 1 second each, like I'll increase that to 2. So I'll breathe in for 2 counts and breathe out for 2 counts. And I'll do that a couple times, and then I'll breathe in for 3 and breathe out for 3 and breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4. And I try to get up to 10, and I find that really helps to slow my heart rate. It helps to kind of re-normalize my breathing. And a lot of times it helps to kind of eliminate any acute anxiety I'm feeling. So that is probably my best coping mechanism, along with brain dumps to write out everything I'm stressed about, or just like journaling and writing everything down. That can help too. It's basically totally dark out now, but I'm just embracing the coziness that is filming at nighttime with a candle. So, best ways to beat procrastination. A bullet journal. Definitely. I would recommend you check out my video I made on my favorite tips for being more productive, or using your bullet journal to be more productive. That video has basically all of my best tips for being more productive on a daily basis, and they also help me to reduce my tendency to procrastinate. So I would recommend you check out that video if you haven't seen it already. I'll link it in the card and in the description box. How did you get into bullet journaling? I started doing something very similar to bullet journaling when I was working on a Disney Cruise Line ship as a performer, because I needed to organize my life, because my schedule was different every single day. I was always going into a different port, or there was a time change, or we were doing a different show that night, or I had to go greet with Mickey at 8 and then greet with Goofy at 4, and I had to know what was happening every single day, and it was always different. So I started using a tiny little baby pocket notebook to write down my schedule, and that started turning into something very similar to the sort of traditional bullet journaling system. And then at some point after I was home from that contract, I think it was around that time that writer Carol made his website, and I remember stumbling upon his blog and realizing that that system was very similar to what I was already doing. So I kind of shifted it even closer to bullet journaling, and I've been bullet journaling ever since. Are you still auditioning for things? Have you been cast in anything? I am still auditioning, sort of. Many factors contribute to the fact that I haven't been auditioning nearly as much in the past few years as I was before. I used to have auditions almost every single week throughout the year, which was kind of hard to keep up with. And that's definitely reduced. Some of that is just what's happening right now. It's been a little quiet in the Toronto musical theater scene. And some of that is that I have an injury that I'm healing from. So I've sort of stepped back a little bit. And just being super busy with my YouTube channel has also made it hard to kind of stay on top of things. But I am still auditioning from time to time. I actually had an audition today. So yeah. In your latest Bujo Mistakes video, I saw tap classes in your monthly. Do you dance? Yes, I do. I'm a dancer. That's how I got into musical theater kind of in the first place. I grew up dancing competitively. I've tapped since I was 5 years old. I went to a pre-professional ballet school for a year. I went to school for musical theater where I sang, danced, and acted. So yes, I am a dancer. What is your advice for a college student struggling to keep up with a bullet journal? That's hard to say because I didn't have a bullet journal in college. I started one after I'd graduated already, so I don't have specific advice. I also never went to college for an academic subject. I went to a musical theater conservatory program for college, which is very different from most people's experience of college, I would say. I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this, but I will say, if you're struggling to keep up with your bullet journal, there is a chance that your bullet journal is not perfectly attuned to you and what you need. If you're struggling to keep up with it, I would suggest you pare back, simplify it, just set up the pages, the spreads that you actually use. So if you only find yourself using your dailies and nothing else, then maybe start just doing dailies and that's it. If you only use your habit tracker, then maybe just set up a habit tracker and leave it at that. I think anytime you're not using part of your bullet journal, that's an indication that maybe either you don't need that type of spread at all, or the specific way that you set it up, the specific type of spread you're using isn't working for you and you need to try to change it to be in a different format or in a different location so it does work for you. Would you ever try polyamory? I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to it as an idea because, you know, if you are able to love multiple people at once and you're happy to be in multiple relationships, then good on you. I'm happy for you. You know, I don't have anything against it as a concept. I don't know if I would be very good at it, to be honest, because I'm a pretty all or nothing type of person. I'm also a very caring, loving, open person with, you know, the person that I'm in a relationship with. And I don't know if I'd be able to split that kind of love and attention to multiple people. Obviously, I can love multiple people, but just in a romantic life partner sort of way, I'm not sure I would be good at that. And I also probably would struggle with jealousy, I would assume. I never saw myself as a particularly jealous person, but I don't know if I would do that well with seeing my husband with someone else, you know? So I probably will never try polyamory, but I mean, I would if the circumstances were right and I felt I wanted to, sure. What's one thing that you think changed your life drastically? Wow. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of things, and I'm sure there are things that have changed my life drastically from where they would have headed that I don't even think about as a significant event. But probably the two biggest things are going to school for musical theater and meeting my husband. I would say, you know, if I never got into theater school, if I ended up going to school for biochem, which is what I was considering going for if I didn't get into any theater schools, I think my life would be very different. I don't know if I would be working as a scientist now. I don't know if I would have continued on to get a master's and maybe gone to law school, which was something that I'd kind of had in my sights as a potential career. I really don't know where I would be now if I hadn't got into theater school and decided to just throw caution to the wind and do it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'd be. Definitely a drastic change from what my life would have been otherwise. Or maybe not. Maybe I would have done 1 year of a science degree at University of Toronto, and then I would have reapplied to theater schools and gone to theater school, and my life would be exactly the same. I don't know. And then also meeting my husband. I mean, meeting, falling in love with, marrying my husband is one of the most significant things that's happened in my life, and finding him as a life partner has changed my life in a million small and big ways. So, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty drastic life change to meet your soulmate, I would say. What gives you hope? What gives me hope? I don't know, not to be a downer, but nothing. I don't know that something gives me hope. I mean, hope for what? Just hope in general? I don't know that I'm a particularly hopeful person. I would say I'm a bit of a cynic, or a realist. And a lot of things that are happening in the world look less than hopeful. There's a lot of dire situations, or awful situations that are happening in the world that aren't really being properly addressed. Climate change, injustice, human rights violations, animal rights violations. There's a lot going on there. So I guess what makes me hopeful is meeting people who are compassionate, caring, loving people who care and are trying to make a difference. I guess that gives me hope, in knowing that there are more and more people who are aware of these issues and aren't willing to stand by and let them continue. So I would say activists like Greta Thunberg, for example. There are people in my own life who I look up to, and they give me hope for humanity. So yeah, I would just say people who are taking a stand and trying to make the world a better place. Do you do ballet? I do, not regularly these days. I would love to get back into taking ballet class once a week if I can, but I've done ballet since I was 4, and for a little while did it a little more seriously when I was at a pre-professional ballet school. Have you ever seen the National Ballet of Canada perform? Yes, I have, many times. I hope I can go back again this year and see something. It's been a few years since I've been to a full-length ballet, so I would like to go back. Okay, last question. Best realistic advice for those like me who just started to share their journals on Insta. What do I say about this? Instagram is a difficult platform to grow on these days. It used to be easier, I hear. I feel like I was not trying to grow my Instagram when it was still apparently easier to grow. I only started getting more serious about it once my YouTube started to take off, and that's relatively recently. So my Instagram is pretty small. I have about a quarter of the followers on Instagram that I do on YouTube. I do think that most YouTubers or Instagrammers typically have a lot more followers on one platform than the other. I think that's usually pretty common, but Instagram's pretty hard. The algorithm can really make it difficult for not only new people to find you, but for your own followers to see your content. So I would say some basic things that I think help are to post regularly. If you can post every day around the same time, that does help. If you can find a certain time when your followers tend to be online. You can see this if you have a business account on Instagram, or you can look up some articles where they kind of talk about typically when people are more likely to be on Instagram, depending on the day. Higher quality images help if you can get them to be nicely lit and nice and clear, or if you have a very specific aesthetic to your photos. Use hashtags, use the 30 you can have, try to use relevant hashtags, tag relevant accounts, especially accounts that tend to repost content. And I would say probably the most important thing is to just engage with your followers, engage with other people on Instagram, make friends on Instagram, comment on other people's posts, respond to people who comment on yours. Just have that engagement, and hopefully that will lead you to grow. But it's hard to say. I don't know. The algorithm is complicated. It does make it hard to get your stuff out there, and even again for your own followers to see your stuff. So you gotta do it because you want to do it and not because of the followers, because otherwise you're just going to be miserable. If you focus on doing it just because you want to post pictures of your journal, because you want to make friends on Instagram with other people who have a bullet journal, then you'll have a fun time regardless of how quickly your account grows. Okay, so that's it for this Q&A. I hope it was interesting for all of you. Let me know in the comments your answer to the question about something that really changed your life or changed the direction of your life. I think that's a really interesting question. So let me know in the comments down below. If you've missed any Plantmas videos, the Plantmas playlist will be down in the description box as well as in the card. So you can catch up if you've missed any of the first 4 days of Plantmas. And I will see you very soon for Plantmas Day 6. Bye, friends. I want to take a moment to thank my patrons for their support. Extra special thanks to our newest patrons, Kayla, Lita, Lauren, Mary, and Maureen. Welcome to the squad. I am so excited to have you. If you at home want to join the squad, check out the link in the card or in the description box down below.